The following program has been rated GE by the Kenya Film Classification Board. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Hello viewer, welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. I'm your host Eunice Mugo. Today we are having part 2 of co-parenting. The last episode we talked about matters and root causes of co-parenting. Today we are going to look at schedules and logistics when it comes to matters of co-parenting. Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. I'm not alone. I have guests who are going to help us to understand and dissect better when we talk about logistics and ways to deal with co-parenting. I will allow them to introduce themselves. Welcome guests, starting with you.
Thank you so much, Eunice, our host. We really appreciate. My name is Pastor Lydia Juguna, Pastor for Seasoned Assignment. It's a mentorship program, but all pastoral. And it cuts across young people, married people, anyone in corporate. And I thank God for that. Touching life, impacting lives. I really appreciate God for that.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Pastor Lydia. And to you, lady.
My name is Nyambura Kamau. I am a documentation specialist. I deal with passports, I deal with birth certificates, I deal with declarations of citizenship, I deal with the corporate world. I make all kinds of documents. If you're there and you're suffering with any document, please come and see me. Yeah.
Welcome on the show. Glad to have you amidst the diverse businesses that we both have, and being able to dissect and talk about matters to deal with co-parenting. So this time I want us to talk about the schedules and logistics behind co-parenting. The other time we looked at the root causes, where we're going wrong, things we need to learn and unlearn. But maybe today, where we can look on how to plan and how to deal with co-parenting. We are here. It is here with us. How do we deal with it? Pastor Lydia.
Okay, to begin with, we need to know and understand what is it we are calling co-parenting. For us to be able to know how to deal with, you need to know what is this lion, what is this mountain called co-parenting. And I believe it is sharing of responsibilities for the children from both parents, the mother and the father, which follows separation, or divorce or disagreement. And children at times, not at times, all the times may experience emotional turmoil when parents divorce or separate. So co-parenting minimizes that effect of separation. So when we speak about co-parenting, it's whereby we minimize an effect of stress to children, depression to children, you know, and it involves maintaining positive communication with all parties involved: the woman, the man, the father, the mother. So that's what co-parenting is all about. And then when it happens, then there should be arrangement. If there's a separation, if there's a divorce, for the sake of that child, for the sake of those children, there should be an arrangement. How do we share our responsibility? There is a school, there is a health bit, there is a basic needs. How do we come in as parents and bridge the gap where we can affect our children emotionally, where we can make our children suffer? So that must be an understanding for us to co-parent. Why are we doing co-parenting? So what are we solving? What are we helping? Because we must be helping. We must have a goal, and our goal at this point is the children, the child who is in between. Because if the co-parenting is not positive, or it's negative, eventually it affects the life of a child. It affects the life of children. I always say, tukisoma ile time we were in primary school, high school, tulikuwa tunasema pahali wawili wanapigana, nyasi huumia. So and in this case, when that happens, nyasi ni watoto. So then, as these two parties, they need to have a goal, an agenda, a program. How do we cooperate? How do we work together?
Coming to you, Nyambura, this one at least you could say it's more interactive. When I say that you are going to have a topic on this, I had a lot of questions coming on board that we are going also to tackle with the mind and the heart of our viewer. So maybe the first one, how do we plan and coordinate our children's schedules and activities? The second one is in relation on the same, what are the best way to communicate about our children's schedules and events? How can we handle holidays, vacations, and special occasions? When we are talking, now that you're in that space, maybe telling us from your experience, how do you plan and coordinate between you and your partner in terms of co-parenting?
Well, what I'd like to say, the co-parenting I've had with the father to my daughter is a bit different, because I have taken like most of the responsibilities of staying with the child all through, but he would go and visit, like in the office. And the reason maybe she would go to the office is because at home there's another family, and maybe it's not the appropriate time when she was young to introduce her to another family. So the space was she would go to the office to meet the dad, and we would arrange who is going to take her, because that time it was on turmoil. You're not in good, speaking. You can't talk to each other, like you cannot have a conversation. So it was like, can I see my daughter on Saturday? Can I take her somewhere? Then I would give her to somebody else to drop her and go pick her after the hours or the time he wants to have her. And because as it is a separation, we had not gotten to a marriage that was legal. So we only had, didn't have to go to court and, we are told this is the time you'll be having your child, or these are the hours that you should be having this child, or you should have this child for 2 weeks and another one for 2 weeks. So basically it was when he feels like he needs to see the baby. And she would come back and tell me, I've said hi to like 1,000 guys, He was taking me around. I met this friend called Peter, said, I say hello to you. Then she would ask me, Connie, you know all these friends? Because, everyone, the whole town. I've been saying hello to guys, and we went for nyama. And now I'm thinking, how do you take like a 4-year-old for nyama? Because she'd end up maybe eating potatoes, because she's not with nyama. But as the years progressed, we would have now arranged things, like maybe he's going to the village and goes with her for a day and brings her back. And then the communication now came back that we can only talk about her education, her well-being, her health. Maybe I've been lucky because she's never been sick. I've never called the dad saying, hey, your daughter is sick. No, she was very, very lucky. And so basically it was about her education and her school events, where, well, he never appeared, but he knew about the events, and he would sponsor the events. As I told you before, he's a very good guy looking for money. So if it's, I have to fuel my car and go for a visiting in school, he pays for it, but he will not go to the school. So co-parenting, I think, is different, because I've met my friends who have like those times you have the child for 2 weeks or for a week, and you hear other stories. But for us, it has been different. And also, now she's a grown-up. She's grown to be very open about it. And what happened for us to get to communication, on a Christmas day, a daughter to my cousin asked my daughter, do you have a daddy? And she came running to me. She asked me, do I have a dad? at age 4. And I think it is very important for every parent to just let the child know the truth. Because if that question was not answered, in class 4 she was asked to write a composition about her sister. And she was very confused about it because she didn't have a sister. And at home, I don't have siblings who are younger than me, or I'm the first child in my home to get a child. So she didn't have cousins that she would term these as sisters. And she stayed for a whole 40 minutes not writing her composition, wondering, what do I write about a sister? And she had to figure out somebody who is in her life that looks like her sister. And she wrote about a young girl called Lois, who was a bit older, like 3 years older than her. And the composition was not, it was not accurate. And she's a very good writer. So when her marks came out, she had, I think, 436. And the report said, you have been doing 460s, 480s, you should improve. She didn't come with her report home, the report book home, which now called me to something. Things needs to be done now. From here straight, she needs to meet the other cousins from home, from the dad side, because in my home she didn't have cousins. So co-parenting is something that you make a decision for your child, so that they don't lose their other relatives, their grandmothers, just to give them a right to know who they are and rediscover themselves. I think it's very, very important for the child, other than for the parent.
Wow.
Yeah.
I surely do agree with that. Maybe coming to you, Pastor Lydia. She has mentioned introducing your child and letting your child know the other family. In our society, we find that in most cases, us parents are the ones who are bringing the rift between our children. Do you think that that should be the case? And when we are being told you should spend 2 weeks at your mom's place, 2 weeks at your dad's place, being in between the two families, what is the logic way to do it in terms of, if I'm here for this duration of time, this is how I should behave and conduct myself. If I'm here, this is how I should conduct myself. How do you teach a child at a neutral level to be able to balance two families and not be lost in between?
How you go about it, like Nyambura have mentioned, this co-parenting, we are doing it for the sake of the child. We are trying not to affect our children emotionally. We are trying not to destroy them, not to make them feel less or feel inferior. So when you have the best for your child, the best at heart for your child as a woman, when you have the best for your child as a man, you'll so much avoid to be negative. You'll avoid any communication that leads to negativity. You'll avoid that communication. So when the child is with me, for example, for those 2 weeks, the agenda of me to the child should not be the father. Speaking negative about the father, speaking negative about their family, because you're feeding that child. And like Nyambura said, at some age, he or she will come and bring some strong, some hard questions on you. So the way you teach that child in that perspective will matter a lot. Because also it can also be a lift to you. Because when you see your child suffering, definitely you'll also suffer. So for those 2 weeks, the Bible says, teach your child in the ways of the Lord. She mentioned it's a decision. We decide. This is how we want to bring our child. We want our child to go to this school, this kind of school. We want our child to have this medical cover. We want our child to be going for holidays. We want to give our child the best. You see, in that communication, when you're communicating that positivity, both of you, when it's coming to the child, that child will grow knowing it's only that they are separated. Otherwise, they have the best for me in my heart. And again, you should not hide those things, hiding her people or his people from you. There should be that communication. And then when a child gets to a certain age, like for example, I always say age 8, it's a conversational stage. And of course the child would want to know why mommy and daddy you're separated. Be honest, but also don't malign. Don't malign the other party. Just say, at that age, just tell the child, you know, we just realized I and your father or I and your mother, we are not compatible, but we love you. Your dad loves you, and I love you. So we decided we'll give you the best.
Sure.
So anytime you are with your father, just know he loves you. Anytime you're with me, just know that I love you. So you have given an environment of positivity. So at that, there's another certain age, now when the child start questioning hard questions. In that certain age, now you can tell the child, yeah, it's unfortunately we differed in this line. We differed with your dad or we differed with your mom, but that should not be an issue to you. Because always children are innocent. In our differences, children are innocent.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe the second question that I had from our viewer is on the same of communication. So what communication method works best when discussing about parental matters? How often should we check in or on matters to do with parenting meetings? How much often? And maybe the last one, how will we handle urgent or important discussion that arises? Coming to you.
I think it's very important when you keep it to the core. Communication, the mode doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be meeting like physically, because maybe the other person maybe has another person in their lives, and it gives them an insecurity. When if it's a man and he has another lady, or it's the woman has another man, then when you're going to meet this guy, they would feel like it's not because of the child. Maybe you two guys are starting to communicate very well. So I think it's good to put it, either you can write or you can talk over a phone with the digital world, or if you have to meet, then maybe the children should be there as you discuss whatever matters. And the two of you should have like you should even have the hours. You cannot just call someone because it is midnight and tell them your child is crying, your child is, doing this. It's very difficult, especially for those who are cooperating with very young children. But for children who are a bit older, I think it is good to keep it to the hour that somebody should be called, or you should be communicating about it. And if the child is able to talk or speak for themselves, let's say by age 12, they can call on their behalf and communicate the problem they have, or what they need, to the dad or to the mom, other than the mother keep calling the other person. The other question you asked is how you handle
Urgent and important matters.
urgency. I think mostly it depends with who lives with the child. Because if it is the mother, then the urgency comes to you. If it is with the dad, then it goes to the dad straight, and then now the communication comes in. And I think it's it's most appropriate when the easiest mode is used.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming to you, Pastor Lydia, she's mentioned about issues to do with insecurity, especially if both of us have moved on, either party. And now my question comes in. If the both of us as parents, we have agreed to bring the child best how we know how in our separate homes, what roles do our insignificant others in these new relationships play to our child, and how does it affect them, positively and negatively?
Like I've said, communication is key. Before you moved on, you had a baggage. And in this instance, when you move on to another relationship, that new relationship, they need to understand, I have children. I have a daughter somewhere. I have a son somewhere. And we have agreed that we are going, actually, you don't even need to express or to explain all these things. That child is my responsibility. So as I pay, because these also other children are my responsibility, so as I pay for school fees, I'll be paying there. You may not necessarily require to tell the other significant what you need to do, but she should be knowing that I have another responsibility. Who is my child? For example, if that person feels insecure, you having that child, you can, someone said, do reverse psychology. So if you don't want me to be talking with that, the mother of the child, so can I bring this child here?
Oh, wow.
You see? So if she's not ready to carry up that burden, she'll be like, no.
You just carry
You
on.
just carry on.
Okay.
So you give that person assurance. We are into this because of our children. And then you ask her, would you want your children to suffer a cause that it's not worth suffering?
Okay.
An answer will also come from that person. So when there is a communication, then you program yourself, like Nyabura said. Know the timing of communication. You have moved on, I've moved on. Don't call me when I'm with my other person, you know? Don't interfere with our program. We already have our program. We already know how. You need school paid. Give me the account, okay? I'll deposit money to the account, to the school account. Those things, as long as you know it is your responsibility, you don't need to be pushed.
I want us to go on a break. But when we come back, I'd want us to talk about you already know your responsibilities. In the eventualities of I moving on, my insignificant other is willing to bring the child on board and do everything, but the other parent is not willing for that to happen. How now do we balance? Because now the rift will be, like you've mentioned, reverse psychology. So should I bring? And then he or she is like, yes, why not? Bring. But me on the other side, I don't want to let go. That's now a fight that you're torn in between. Because if you say this party doesn't want to let go of the child, then if I am insecure, I'll say it is you who doesn't want to bring.
Yes.
How now do we balance that? That is what you're going to answer after the break. Viewer, I hope you're learning and taking notes on how to work on co-parenting issues. Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. We'll be back shortly.